welcome. My name's Terry Armani and I'm the host of Construction Leaders Club, and I have with me today one of our sponsors who is Deborah Ritchie of Nelson's, who are a large legal practice based in the East Midlands. So without more to do then, Deborah, thank you for joining us today on this podcast. And what I'd like to start with is, could you tell us a bit about you, what you do and what your specialism is?
Hello, Terry. I'm a construction law specialist and I've been at Nelson's now since 2008. I'm a partner in the practice. Nelson's is a full-service law firm. We deal with both business and individual clients, but my focus obviously is in construction, so I'm working closely with the property side of the business, the commercial side and the litigation department as well.
All right, okay. How did you get into the profession, but more specifically into being an expert lawyer within the construction industry?
Well, I qualified back in 1990, and at that time it was part of a general commercial litigation practice that I had. And during that time, I worked for construction businesses. And to be honest, I just really enjoyed working with the people in construction. And I got a lot of interest out of the topics that I was dealing with. The people were down to earth, and I think I'm a fairly down to earth person. And I think that was what I enjoyed most, was dealing with the people. So I had an opportunity to do construction work. In the practice I was in at the time, there was a dedicated team dealing with construction work, and I was really fortunate to be able to move sideways into that team, and I've not looked back. That was in about 1995, and I've worked with construction businesses ever since then.
Oh, right, so you've obviously got a lot of experience under your belt and probably service quite a wide range of clients of all types. Is there a particular type of client that you specialise in, or is it anybody associated with the industry?
Well, really the industry falls into a different series of categories as far as the law's concerned. So I'm working with consultants in the design team, giving them advice on their contracts, their appointments. The building contractors, I'm working with them either in setting up their contracts, advising them on subcontract terms, or I'm helping them as the build goes up with any issues that might arise, any contractual queries that they've got, and then if they have any disputes. I also deal with developers, similar sort of thing. I'm dealing with their contract documentation and advising on any disputes. And I also work for banks, giving them security advice in respect of collateral warranties and that type of security.
Gosh, that's a wide-ranging set of services that you do there, Deborah. So moving on, one of the things that we ask all our guests is, do you have such a thing as a win-win story that you could tell us about?
Yes, I can. In litigation work, anyone who's been through a litigation to a trial will know how very difficult it is in a business to continue your business whilst you're engaged in that activity. It's far-reaching and requires an awful lot of input of time and resource, and of course that means money for any business. What's been nice is being able to be involved in mediation work, which is a much more conciliatory approach to resolving disputes. The parties engage a third party who's neutral, who will act as a broker, and I played the part of advising my client throughout that process. Last year I had a wonderful case where I was acting for an M&E contractor who had a dispute over payment. It was complicated because the employer-client felt that they had their own claims about delay and defects. We had a day of mediation. At the end of that mediation, my client came away with a compromise in terms of money that it was going to receive, but most importantly, he came away with in his back pocket a new contract. That's not something you can get out of a trial. There's always a winner and a loser in a trial process. But in mediation, it's really diverse what you can come up with, and parties, if they are genuine about settling disputes, can think laterally in a mediation and come away with something very unique.
All right, okay. So one of the other questions that we tend to ask is, What is your current primary focus, or as our American friends say, what are you all fired up about?
Well, what my clients are telling me this year, as much as they were last year, is that they need cash and they need it in quickly. Every business needs cash flow. It's what keeps it alive, what allows it to run its activities. So at the moment, I'm really focused on trying to get cash in for my clients as quickly as possible. So that means getting the deal done.
Well, obviously, Nelson's a very big and successful practice, and your focus within it is the construction industry. But in order to be successful, we all presumably need some habits that lend us to be successful. So have you got a habit that you could share with us that you tend to apply on a regular, daily, weekly basis?
I tend to get into the office quite early. I have a bit of travelling, and so it's always better to do that when the majority of people aren't on the road. So I get in and have my first cuppa of the day in the office, and that's when I look at the internet, read the papers, and look at any industry-focused magazines or reading material. And I find that sort of quiet time of over a cup of coffee really keeps me up to date with what's happening in the industry and what's of interest and where my focus ought to lie in terms of looking for new opportunities. The other thing I think that I have a habit of doing is being myself. I can't help myself but being myself. And I think that's a good thing because, at the end of the day, we all buy services off people that we have a connection with. So I like to go out and see people and help them to get to know me.
That sounds a really good idea. Okay, so another thought that we have is, do you have a resource that you tend to call upon on a regular basis that helps you to be successful or effective?
Well, I wouldn't want now to be without my iPhone. There I am plugging the iPhone, but I'm sure that there's plenty of other good other systems out there.
You mean like Samsung?
Like Samsung or any of the others.
The one I use.
But I really wouldn't want to be without it now. Having the ability to stay in contact with people all day and night, is unfortunately now, I say fortunate and unfortunate, but it's a really important part of business. People need to know that they can get hold of you, and I feel that that's invaluable now. Yeah,
that's absolutely the case, because if people can't contact you, that you're not there, and they'll naturally move on, because the pace of life is such that we need to make things happen, don't we? We need to be available to speak to people. Okay, some people read books, some don't. Do you have a book that you refer to at all that maybe has done you some good in the past?
I'm not somebody who's read an awful lot of tomes on business, but I've come by a book very recently called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which I'm just getting into. I find it quite interesting. I've just started off reading it. It's giving you tips on the way in which you can grow rich in your business and personally. And what I like about the book is that it's actually making me really think quite deeply about what I want out of my business and what I want out of my life. And that's been quite a revelation. So I'll give you some further feedback on that when I finish the book.
Okay. I think that's a really great book as well. In fact, it sort of couples with another book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. And as we both know, it's all about chemistry. If you've got chemistry with somebody, usually you work with them and you get a result. But no chemistry, usually no results. So yeah, that's a really good book. So I'd like to hear what you've got to say when you finish reading it, Deborah. Okay, that's really interesting. So anyway, we're coming into our final few moments of this interview. So have you got a parting piece of advice that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Certainly, Terry. I think, I come across a lot of businesses where when they start talking to me, the person involved has had a lot of sleepless nights chewing over a difficult legal issue. And what I'd say is, if you're listening to this podcast and you've got one of those thorny legal issues, don't lose sleep over it. Give me a call. Let me see if I can either point you in the right direction of sorting it out for yourself. Sometimes that's possible. Or otherwise, if I can help you, I most certainly will do. And you can take advantage of some great rates that we offer through the Construction Leaders Club.
But how would somebody contact you if they wanted to take you up on your kind offer?
Well, I'm always available to people by telephone or by email. My telephone number is 07967 378 369. And my email is deborah.ritchie, that's deborah.ritchie at nelsonslaw, all one word, .co.uk.
That's brilliant, Deborah. Thank you very much for agreeing to this interview, and we sincerely hope it helps all our listeners. So thank you for that, and see you on the flip side, as they say.
Thank you, Terry.